George Strombo just so you can like not tell people how to pronounce your name?
Yeah. In fact, I usually just go by George. It was other people that started calling me Strombo because it didn't even occur to me to do that. I just always went by George. I wasn't much of a nickname guy or a repeatable nickname. And then because my last name is insane, when I was enrolled in high school, half my family had shortened their name to a shorter version of it, but I made it go back to the full version. And people were like, we're not doing that. So they just started calling me Strombo.
Oh, yeah. How many letters?
17.
Oh,
amazing.
Yeah, 17.
Smokes.
Yeah, that's like west side of Toronto, ethnic Gen X kind of name. There's an immigrant name. There's a whole bunch of us with names like this out here.
Yeah.
I remember watching you in the early 2000s. Like you'd have to correct the artists.
Yeah.
And how to pronounce your name.
It was so funny. I'm one of those guys that doesn't get offended though. Like people get my name wrong all the time. It doesn't bother me even a little bit. I don't care what they call me. I don't care because it's crazy.
Did you say his full last name?
Did
Did
Yeah,
he nail it?
yeah, and he nailed it. Yeah, he got it right.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he got it. Yeah.
Wow.
One up for Black Mob.
It's nice to be with you guys. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
having me over.
Oh, no,
Appreciate you coming through.
Absolutely.
No problem.
My first question to you is, why were you in Greenland looking for the Loch Ness Monster?
We were in Greenland because the Loch Ness Monster actually lost money to me on a sports bet because it's funny. I've been talking about and trying to shine a light on this environment stuff for a long time. And one of the things that we always talk about is the ice sheet. And I'm like, there's only 2 ice sheets in the world. I've never been to an ice sheet. So there was this Canadian guy who's living in Denmark, who's a scientist, who reached out and said, do you want to go? And I said, yeah. And I didn't go because the first year he asked, I couldn't make it. I think I was in Syria at the time going. And then the offer came around again this time. He said, do you want to go? And we went, yeah, we definitely want to go. I want to go see the thing I've been reporting on for a long, long time. And then when we were there, Tanya, my producer, who's here now, my colleague, because we used to work together at Much Music as well as CBC, we're so used to, and she's so used to booking lots of stuff. One of them is like, let's go kayaking by the Greenland shark. So we went kayaking to see if we could find the Greenland shark and go by icebergs and all that stuff. Because life's so short, right? And I want to get the most out of it. And seeing icebergs in Greenland, how could you not do that if it presents itself?
You didn't have any apprehension, or
no? The only apprehension I had. So I'll do almost anything in this world. I don't have a lot of fear. I'm lucky that my brain doesn't have fear or anxiety about most things, like at all. The only thing I have never done on purpose is get in a helicopter because I grew up listening to music where helicopters usually had bad endings. So even though I know that lots of helicopters fly, in my head it was just a numbers game. It goes badly. I was in LA when Kobe crashed that day, right? And so I agreed to do this Greenland trip before anybody told me there was a helicopter involved. And I'm like, oh my God. But at this point, I couldn't back down. I couldn't act scared. Right?
You were in it.
No, and this is like the bad part of being a dude. But I had to lean into it. I'm like, all right, I guess I'm doing this helicopter ride. So we got in a helicopter and we flew over, like out of the town that we were in, onto the ice sheet. We went into the ice sheet, and it's one of the coolest. I'm so lucky to be able to have that experience. Not a lot of cats get to do that, but that was the one thing that I was apprehensive about. Wow. But I didn't want to let on.
So I just
you did a good job of hiding. I suffered in fear for a minute, but once we got up, it was okay.
Did you see a fractured ice sheet?
Huge crevasses everywhere. Yeah, you can see them. You go out, and what's crazy is they kind of look like ordered scars, like these 5 or whatever, 6 big crevasses coming all the way down, and then you'll see a few other versions of them, and they're kind of organized. It's really interesting to see, and I've heard about them, but I don't understand them. And then when you see them, you're like, oh man, this is a problem. This is a big problem.
Is there any place that you haven't been? Because you seem like you've been pretty much everywhere on the globe.
Yeah, I've been so lucky to go play. Where have I not been? I haven't been, in terms of like that kind of adventure-y stuff, I would love to ride a motorcycle around the world. I want to do that.
Is that even possible?
You can do it. You got to get on boats at some points and planes, but I want to do that. I've never ridden a motorcycle. There's this legendary ride you can do from the bottom of Chile all the way up to the top of Alaska. Yeah. And that's the thing I want to do on my motorcycle, just camp the whole way and just do it.
Hold on. Like uphill?
Yeah. You go all over. Yeah. You go up in mountains, down, but you go all the way around. Yeah.
I think it's like a 2-year trek.
That's it.
If I'm not mistaken. It has to be a 2-year trek.
To me, my life will have been a waste if I don't get to do that at some point.
So you're actually...
I want to.
You want to?
I want to. Yeah, I will. I have all the stuff I need to do it. The only thing I have also is work. That's the problem. It keeps me away from living that stuff.
Well, you can turn it into work, right?
Yeah. One day I hope to do that. I want to do that, and I've never been to the northern parts of Scandinavia. You know, that like up near the Arctic there. I'd like to do that stuff.
Oh, wow.
But I'm a desert guy, so like my core is desert stuff. So jungles are interesting, but not as interesting to me as deserts. So we were just in Egypt, and like I like seeing that stuff.
Yeah, what's interesting about the desert? I mean,
it's the fact that everything that lives there is badass, right? It's desert life is tough life.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of respect for tough life, anything that can survive. I like music that's tough. I like art that's tough. I like things that are dangerous, and the desert just feels so electric to me all the time.
Have you thought about going into politics?
When I was young, I thought about it. Then the more time I spent around politics, the harder time I had with it. You know, I'm a little bit older now, so I understand compromise better than I would have when I was in my 30s. You know, when I was in my 30s, I'm still very idealistic, but I have a different way, I think, of achieving goals. So politics felt like too much compromise for me now. Now, like in theory, sure I would, but can't think of a party I would join.
Yeah.
So that's a big problem for me, right? So I actually also think that my greatest, what I'm lucky enough to be able to do is people trust me because I'm actually not lying to people, and I'm not trying to lead people astray. This isn't about building my brand. I care about things. I feel like if I can just create space for good conversation, then that's political.
Absolutely.
You know. But also, I don't even know. Somebody asked me about this the other day, like a politician, if I would do it, and I'm like, I'm not now at your party. Right. So I don't know I don't know. And listen, and I think that's a real pain in the ass that we live in a country in an era where I look at all the politics and I go, we got a lot of parties and there's not one here that I feel comfortable being a part of. And then I realized it's because you have to compromise. You have to, and I think there's value in that. I'm just not there yet. Yeah.
And it's a dirty game, and you seem like a pretty private guy.
Very private guy. Yeah. Well, the good news is though, you can dig up my stuff and I'm not ashamed. I'll admit all of it because I don't care when I get that wrong. Right. And what I did wrong is not wrong.
Okay. So, let's get to the scandals.
You know, I'm okay with that. No, it's more that I think we're in that really polarized social media era that truth doesn't matter, so we're kind of post-fact. Yeah. And I think that's got to settle a little bit before it becomes interesting to me.
Wow.
I think we need a good old EMT bomb to get rid of the internet for like a little bit.
Just for a couple days? Yeah. Let's do it on a Thursday after I do my Apple show, and then we can do that, and then we'll get it back on for Monday.
Yeah. How are things going with Apple?
It's been really great. I'm grateful for it. You know, of all my career, only thing I really regretted was that I left this radio station in Toronto, The Edge, early. That's when I went to Much Music, and I was grateful for the Much Music job, so I'm glad I did it. But in the back of my head, I thought, man, I could have used another 1 or 2 years, 3 years doing this kind of thing. And so just, I guess, January before the pandemic hit, I was in negotiation with another place to do an interview show. And I'd also gotten an interview offer here. But Apple had circled and said, hey, do you want to do this kind of show to launch this new station? And it was the kind of thing I missed from the old days. So I said, yeah, I do. And I've been really happy to do it. We're on 165 countries. Our music podcast is usually number 1 or number 2 every week in Canada. So people like it, and it's been really fun. Apple's been good to me because they trust me and they just sort of let me do my thing. I know that won't last forever. No business lets you do that forever, but currently they let me do it. Yeah. So it's been good. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Has it ever crossed your mind of like building your own network and maybe bringing new talent under you and kind of doing your own thing? Yeah,
it certainly has. And when the Hockey Night in Canada thing started, and I knew it wasn't going to last, right away I started the House of Strombo, which was that music thing, and I started that right away.
Yes, I remember that.
And so I was doing that. And I'm still doing versions of that. But we've got a new show coming. We have a new show coming that's going to be a little bit in line with what you're talking about. I don't want to build a media empire. That kind of thing is not that interesting to me. What I want to do is create different ways that, I can do what I want for a living, but also work with people and let them do what they want for a living. And it's got to be a business. So you want to create scenarios where people can make money and continue. But this idea of a media thing isn't so interesting to me because I think sometimes you can kind of lose the humanity in it when you're trying to build too big a business. I want to build a business, but the idea of like, I want to build this thing and everybody, this is my new thing. I'm not that into that. I just want to talk to people. So I'm trying to find different ways to do that, you know?
Yeah. And you're so good at it, man. Like the way you were able to just have a conversation, ask questions, like it's so seamless. Like did that come naturally, or is that something you worked on? Or
I think I was really, really shy when I was a kid, like really, really shy. I'm pretty introverted now. Like I'm good in public, but it's not my natural place to be. I part of the reason I didn't do this for so long is part of the reason I don't do anything is because I just would rather just sit at home, right?
Or you are the same person.
I'm really like, I don't, this idea of, it's just not my thing, but it's become my job, right? It wasn't supposed to be my job. This happened by accident. And I think the secret is that I actually care what you think. Not about me, but I care about what you think about the thing, life. And so once I start doing it, I'm just like right here because I'm actually genuinely, because you know what happens after this? It gets cut up, it gets moved. Some people will watch it, some people won't, some will like us, some won't. None of that's going to change my life in any way. Yep. This moment, though, I have this really unreasonable philosophy, which I don't believe in an afterlife, but I believe that if there is one, when you die, you don't get judged on the totality of your life. You only get judged on your last 10 minutes as a reminder to be present and dope every minute because that's what you're going to get judged on. So I want to be as present as I can. And sometimes I'm not as good at it, but I try, right? And in interviews, sometimes it takes me a minute to kind of get through, oh, you have to remember to ask this and the TV lights or some other shit going on. But once I get past that, I'm right here. That's what I really like.
So now we're on the topic of death. I see you post on Twitter. Like I was looking at your Twitter posts. Majority of your Twitter posts were about death and the artist who passed away.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a lot more than that, but it sometimes feels that way because those ones stand out for sure. It's just because so many people we know are gone.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So is death something that's close to you? Like, did you like?
I think that, well, for sure, you know, you the older you get, the more people you lose. But to me, the death thing is actually that constant reminder that this little thing you have here, life, the amount of just the randomness that has to happen, the fluke has to happen for this little piece of stardust to turn into you or to turn into you or turn into me. Like that's crazy. Yeah. Especially if you don't believe in a higher power. Like, I don't believe in a higher power, so there's no like divinity.
Are you agnostic or?
I'm a non-theist. There might be something. I don't care and I don't know. Right?
Yeah.
Because whatever there isn't, I'll never guess it. Right? But so I think death kind of shows up a lot. And it's true that I'm from that era where the music I listened to was heavily based on that deathy kind of stuff, heavy music, the goth stuff, the punk stuff. Yeah. So I think the art that I consumed, I was 5 at the Albion Library in Rexdale when I saw Night of the Living Dead. A couple of years later, I saw The Exorcist. So that's going to rewire me for sure. Right? That's going to rewire me, right? And so I'm just that guy now. But no, the Twitter thing is just because, and I guess it's a sign, I would guess, of how privileged I have been to have interviewed so many people who have passed. That when they pass, we just have so much stuff, you know, and it comes so surprisingly, so shockingly. So yeah, sometimes our Twitter feed feels like it's that.
Yeah. Is there anyone's passing, celeb wise, that kind of hit you in a different way?
When MCA died, it rocked me from Beastie Boys. That one hit me probably the hardest. A friend of mine I had been texting with a week earlier. He was going to come to LA and we were going to shoot something together. And a couple of weeks after that was Michael Kenneth Williams, who played Omar on The Wire. So, and Michael K, he would come to my house in Toronto. We would just watch Boardwalk Empire together at my house, which we've done. So when he passed, because we had been talking days before,
sure,
you know, Lance Reddick, who passed from The Wire, same thing, right? We had been texting. We had lunch not that long before.
So it's interesting that you're really close with the friend. Is his name Michael?
Yeah, Michael K. Yeah,
he passed away from an overdose.
Yeah. And
you live a straight edge lifestyle.
Yeah.
How was the dynamic between you two? Like how were the conversations? What would you like? Did you see like him bounce, like wanting to take the next hit? Like I really want it. Like, you never seen that?
Never saw it. And we talked a lot regularly. We didn't talk every day, but we were definitely in touch, mostly via text. Doesn't really show you what's happening behind the scenes, as you know. A couple times he had reached out and said he wasn't feeling great, and we had talked a little bit, but never any sense. And sometimes you catch guys when they're in their clean run, and there's a lot of hope and optimism, but you never know what happens when they go back. So with Michael K., I knew Michael K. was struggling. We definitely, friends knew that he was struggling. Didn't know that was what was going to ultimately be his end. We didn't know that. And I think sometimes you just hope. But also, you know this, especially because I've been clean for so long, like almost 30 years now, 29 years.
Congrats.
A long time, right? Long time. Is that sometimes guys don't want to show me because they know that I'm not a friendly voice for that. Okay. Like they're not gonna use around me. They're not gonna do stuff around me because it's just not where I'm at. Yeah. And But Michael K, I didn't know. I mean, I knew he was struggling for real, and I talked to a couple of cats who knew him. We were worried about him. But when when it happens, you're always shocked and not surprised, but still shocked. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a hard one.
How does that lifestyle? How is that like in LA? Like it's so contrary to people. People would think, oh, LA is full of drugs and alcohol. And
is it like
partying.
the Entourage show?
Yeah, there's no, for sure. There's LA's a lot of things, right? If you ever want to know what's going to happen in Toronto or any big city around the world, go to LA because it's all there. You got all the wealth, you got all the poverty, you got all the, like in LA, the thing that I'll always say, if the earthquakes don't get you, the fires will. If the fires don't get you, the mudslides will. If the mudslides don't get you, the crime will. And if the crime won't get you, the cops will. Like there's always something that's going to get you in LA. Mm-hmm. But I don't hang in those circles, so I don't see the parties. But in LA, and I know this happens elsewhere, but there's so much addiction there and so many people who are sober or in programs. There are AA meetings and NA meetings for people under 21. And under 18, like that's there's teenage. It's very, so there's definitely a lot of addiction. But the truth is, and you guys know this, we all know this. There's addiction everywhere.
Absolutely,
it's the whole playing field.
Even marijuana is now addictive. Like people will lie about it, but they're addicted to marijuana.
I know a lot of people who cannot go at a moment without smoking it. Yeah, and because I'm not a doctor, I don't get involved.
Yep.
But yeah, there's a lot of so in LA, I don't hang in the party scene. I'm an older guy now too, but also I've the kind of stuff that I want to do, the kind of partying I want to do. I mean, I go to Burning Man, and Burning Man is loaded with drugs and alcohol. Yep. Loaded. Yep. I've been 8 times, never done anything, and I'm enjoying it. But I also spend a lot of time at Burning Man alone because I know a lot of people get really high, and I don't want to be a part of it. Mm-hmm. Right? So you have to read your own energy and go, I don't think I should be around these guys right now. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna jet for a minute.
So you just go read a book in a corner?
Well, no, I'll get on my bike and I'll go find another party. Cool. But yeah, I just make sure it's a different party and I stay on the outside of it. Yeah.
How do you develop that level of discipline, man? Because you would imagine, you're Strombo, you're in LA, you're around all these celebrities. I'm sure people hit you up, come out to this private party.
I don't think they do that.
No, I'm from.
We just said it.
Well, no, I'll get. Sometimes you show up at places where that happens, but I'm from Rexdale and from Alton, so I'm never not going to be that guy, right? I'm never not going to be the guy. I'm never not going to be my mother's son, never. So it's not a thing that's interesting to me. Russell Peters and I've known Russell since we were teenagers, right? And
crazy.
It's crazy because he's from Brampton, right? I'm from Alton. I remember sneaking Russell into a movie theater when I was a kid. And Russell and I talked about this a long time ago. One of the reasons why we don't get into trouble is because we have shit to lose.
Yep.
Right? So it's like we like our lives. Why do we want to blow this up? Why do we want to blow this up? And Russell's one of the greatest, right? So generous, such a great, loyal friend. And I'll hang out with him. Mm-hmm. We'll hang out. We'll smoke a cigar or whatever. But we're always going to be where we're from. And so the Hollywood thing's not that interesting. I love it because I love the energy and the madness of the city, but really I love the weather, right? And I ride motorcycles around there, so it's really fun. And I go camping and go to the ocean and do crazy shit, whatever I want. But I'm not distracted by that. Maybe when I was 20, because I went to LA the first time when I was 18, and you definitely go, whoa. New York and LA when I was 18 in the late 80s, they're different cities than they are now. So yeah, you could easily lose your way then. But I'm a grown ass man now who really worked on discipline. But discipline's my actual only strength.
Wow.
My actual strength is discipline.
Jonathan Major could have used you as a friend.
That's some crazy shit, man. Can't do it. Can't do it.
Yeah.
Can't do it. Yeah. He lost that job right away, right? Didn't they drop him right away at Disney?
Immediately.
I think so. It's speculation. Nothing. Marvel hasn't come out.
Right.
Kevin Feige hasn't come out yet.
He could survive this, or do you think it's a wrap for him?
I think that there is always room for somebody to be welcomed back to a mainstream, always. But nobody is entitled to that. People say we all give people second chances. Don't give people second chances unless they're willing to do the work that addressed why they lost that first chance in the first place. So I think there's lots of people who, I've interviewed lots of people who were in gangs, started gangs, went to jail, came out of jail and changed how they operate, and they want to protect kids from going into the same, I've dealt with. So yeah, you can always come back and do good shit. Absolutely. But what starts, you got to acknowledge what you did, and you got to figure out a way to make amends. And you can't always make amends because sometimes the people don't want you to make amends, and that's not their responsibility. You got to roll. We have consequences in this life. Whether or not we like it, especially dudes, right? We talk a big game about accountability and consequence, and then we freak out when it bounces back.
Yep.
Own your shit. Change your shit. Acknowledge your shit.
Yeah.
And so I think there's always an opportunity. And again, growing up the way I did, in the neighborhoods I did, a lot of the men that I grew up seeing were good to me, but they were complicated men, compromised men. So what my idea of a hero was, or a strong man, is the kind of thing that today would be frowned upon. Right? So I have a warm spot in my heart for people who want to change. And I think there's that old phrase that says you have to walk your friends home at night. And even if their night's scary, you got to walk them home and get them to be better. But you just don't let people off the hook. Accountability is an important thing.
Absolutely.
So I don't know. I don't know much about the situation with him. I just know what I read a little bit in the papers. But you can always be welcome back.
Yeah.
You just got to make sure you do the thing. No one deserves to be welcome back.
Yeah.
Right.
It's true.
You know,
it's not owed to you, and
no, not at all.
you got to take ownership, and it's going to be a while if it's going to happen. But
there's a lot of people who have done a lot of bad things who have second acts that are really lovely because they have figured it out. You know, some of our biggest stars, you know, have done that. And if you own your stuff and you do it the right way, you got to mean it. It can't just be PR. You can't just be reputation laundering. You got to actually do it. Then maybe you get back in.
Yeah.
Maybe.
But I think it's tough because I feel like there's such an appetite for blood, and people's, like, you know, the bigger the name, the harder they want to see you fall. And
listen,
people with their pitchforks.
This is an era that hates famous people.
Oh, man.
And but famous people got away with a lot of bad shit for a long time. So you know what? Okay. Okay.
Speaking of which, all these artists and rappers, all their shit is coming out. Like,
this Diddy stuff.
Speaking
it's
of
a rap for him.
Yeah, it's a rap for him.
Yeah.
It's not just rappers. There's a reckoning that's coming but that's good. We want that.
Yeah.
This has been an unsafe place for a lot of people for a long time.
It's true.
And so, and this is what drives me crazy, especially with, like, I'm a pretty tough, edgy kind of guy, and I look at these other tough, edgy dudes. I'm like, guys, use your power and your strength and that testosterone and anger that's all built into us naturally. Use it to protect people, not to attack people. You know, this is the thing that most guys don't understand, that your real sign of strength is not what you take, but it's what you preserve for somebody else. And most guys, because we're fucking dumb, and our Instagram and TikTok algorithms are hacked to show out these guys that try to talk to us about how we're lions inside. And I understand why they do that, because it works. Because it works.
Yeah.
But
agitate.
Yeah. Listen, man.
Please go.
But I understand why Andrew Tate works, right?
Yeah.
Because what he's saying is logical to a 14-year-old kid who maybe feels like his natural hormones are being made fun of by everybody else, right? And I think people got to be very careful with what they do and how they talk to young boys, because young boys angry boys can turn into dangerous men.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we don't want that. We want strong men. We want strong women. We want strong any gender you are, but not dangerous, right? And there's lots of great men running groups to get kids on the right path. They're just not all famous on TikTok. So I know there's good men doing good shit. But the dudes have been getting away with a lot of shit for a long time. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Speaking
But
of,
all the stars are coming down, man.
Speaking of culture, in LA, are you into, like, jerk chicken, rice and peas, and all that good stuff?
I used to be, but since I became vegan. But there's a guy, I don't know his name, but he's got a food cart. And here's the thing. He's a cutter roti. And here's the best part about him. There's two things to know. One, he's got two options. There's a meat version, usually ox or something like that. And then there's a vegan version. Sure. But here's the thing. You always want to find him, because not only is that the best vegan roti, but wherever he's set up, that's where the best party is that night.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so we know. Usually there's like Sister Nancy will come play a regular show in Echo Park. Sister Nancy came to my house and did a thing in my house.
Oh, wow.
Which is amazing.
Yeah.
I love Sister Nancy.
It's a shame she just got paid on her records recently, too.
She just got money for it, right?
Yeah.
About time. It's
crazy.
Yeah, and I heard the whole story about how, she was in the studio. Yellow Man was making something in the studio. Yellow Man did a version of Bam Bam, but not the same. And so Sister Nancy came in. I love Yellow Man, right? I will see Yellow Man anytime I can. But that's where that roti guy is always outside. Always outside when Sister Nancy or Yellow Man are playing in LA, which is regular. So I'll go get that stuff there. But I used to go to Eglinton and Oakwood at night, usually 10 or 11 o'clock at night. There'd be 4 or 5, drums on the street. That's where I would get my chicken.
To this
before I went
day,
vegan.
too.
Still going, eh?
Yeah.
That's where I used to go all the time. All the time.
But they're holding on. The LRT is so crazy where, it's been over 12 years and it's still being, installed.
Listen, you want to get me angry, talk about city council in this city and the province and the way the government works, because they've made Toronto an impossible city to get around, and stupid. We're a real city. No real city is this hard to get around for everybody. It's hard for bikes. It's hard for cars. It's hard for pedestrians.
What would you suggest?
Oh, I don't know. I'm not a politician. Here's what I would suggest. I think that Torontonians, listen, people are going to hate me for saying this, and I don't care. We have to realize that not every politician, because there's a lot of good ones, but this city is not built for us. This city is built for relationships between politicians and developers in this city. Ooh. That's who built Toronto. Right? That's what happened in Mississauga. Go all the way around. Because to me, Mississauga, North York, Ajax, Whitby, we're all the same.
Yep.
It's arbitrary borders.
Yep.
But they give them the deals over us the deals. Mm-hmm. It's expensive for us to buy a place. They screw us with taxes and don't screw them with taxes. Mm-hmm. So I think when somebody decides to work on behalf of people, as opposed to just developers and development, maybe we apply that shit going on in Ontario Place, cutting down old trees. What are we doing?
Yeah.
Why are we doing that?
Yeah.
And I think that's Toronto's great challenge. This is a city that doesn't have a plan. I've talked to mayors and I've said to them, why is this so hard to get around? And mayor actually said to me, we don't want it to be easy to get around for drivers. We intentionally are making it. Mayor said that to me. Now, there's a long time ago. There are a lot of mayors since then who could have made it better, who they didn't. But a mayor actually said that to me. We don't want this. We want more people walking in on bikes. I said, but you got 5,000 condos going up. You got no extra transit. You got all this shit going on. It's fine and dandy to say you don't want it, but this is what usually, now there's good people on city council, but honestly, they have a certain amount of power. It's the province. We know how the premier feels about the city. He's made it clear. The federal government, the way they pass things down. So who has jurisdiction? There's a lot of reasons why, but Toronto to me and a lot of cities. A lot of
finger pointing.
Yeah, and you start reading articles around the U.S. and Canada. You start looking, especially in the U.S., how developers and city councilors working with cops to clear out low-income neighborhoods so they can put other, richer people in there. So there's just a lot of shit that we need to wake up to. And we're now reaching the era where I live downtown. I've been here a long time, my whole life. And you can see, there's a lot of great things about this city, but what's going on? Something's wrong here. And it's been wrong for a minute. Yeah. So I think that's my thing about Toronto.
Now, have you seen the girl on the internet recently with the Toronto accent?
Oh yeah, she's the best, isn't she? Oh, she's the best. She's the best. Yeah.
So what's her name? Plush.
Plush.
Her name? Listen, fam.
Yeah, listen, fam.
You make me sick to my stomach.
How many times have you tried to explain to people?
I know you're joking, but you're not, because I'll tell you how many people have brought that up to me, and I have to explain to them. I'm like, first of all, we don't speak like that. No, there's a handful of people who speak like that, and I like it because you can hear a bunch of different influences and accents in there.
Yeah.
I don't know where she got hers from. I don't know her.
I think it's a Scarborough accent.
Well, yeah, that could be it. Yeah. But what I love about her, because what she addressed was really interesting, but what she doesn't maybe she understood it and it just didn't get clipped, is if you have a gangster grandmother like I did, like I remember saying to my grandmother, let me move you out of this neighborhood. My grandmother got so mad at me for daring to she lived Jane Finch, daring me to, what's wrong, Jane Finch? I said, there's nothing wrong with Jane Finch. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with this. But we can help, would not. So my grandmother refused to leave Jane Finch. Refused. Wow. Yeah. And she lived across the street from where Sidani, the rapper Sidani, lived. So my grandmother lived across the street from where Sidani lived, and I love Sidani. But that Toronto girl, I whatever Plush, I don't know her name, but
we should interview her.
She's the best, dude.
No.
I don't know her. I don't know if she's got what her problems are. I don't know if she
has any problem with
I don't know if she, but I like that accent.
So they make fun of her accent?
Oh yeah.
In LA?
Yeah. Oh yeah. They make fun of it everywhere. Like I go everywhere. If I meet anybody who finds out where I'm from, they'll be like,
yo fam.
Yeah, yo fam. And like Top Boy, right? Top Boy fan of Top Boy. So I think Drake's a part of it. But Drake is an actor and a great artist, but I think he kind of helped elevate some of that stuff. But now what's happening is, and this is the only thing I don't like about it, is that it's becoming universal. And I think what makes Toronto so dope and what made it so dope is how neighborhoody we were.
Yeah.
So neighborhoods should sound different from each other. We should be different from each other. We should agree with each other on lots of stuff, and we should disagree. But culturally, like when I listen to a rapper from Scarborough. And then I listened to Claremont II, who went to the same high school that my mom did many years later. But I love Claremont. I hear the voice and I go, cadence is West Coast. That's a West Side cadence, right, of Toronto. But people definitely want to ask about her. And she makes me laugh every time I watch because everybody talks like that now.
Yeah.
And I think it's cool if it's original, but if you're just mimicking, but who knows what will come from it?
Yeah,
you know. But I hear a lot of influences in it. I kind of like it. Yeah. I think she's funny.
So who do you think is a Cardinal Fischel to blame for it for his Bacardi slang?
No, because Cardi, and I'm glad you mentioned Cardi. I think Cardi's amazing. Is that growing up in the neighborhood I grew up in, it was Caribbean.
Yeah.
So Cardi's success was shining a light on the Caribbean contribution to hip hop here, which I really liked. So it was so uniquely Toronto what he did, because growing up, because you know this, right? In that wave of immigration in the 60s, when the great dancehall and reggae artists like Jackie Mittoo and all them came from Jamaica to here, you had this really nice, cultural scene. But for a long time, it didn't get any love. And then in Rexdale and Malton, a lot of Jamaicans, when I heard Cardi, went, that's my neighborhood. That's what my Toronto sounds like.
Yeah.
It sounds like that Cardi song. But he does that, fam, right?
Yeah.
The way he rhymed million in that song, like it's there.
It's there.
Yeah.
So that's why I mentioned it. If you listen to the whole Cardinal, they get Bacardi slang. It's literally that
but not so much
that.
Leprechaunish.
Oh yeah, she was on the Leprechaun side.
Well, it's just as generations happen, it morphs, right? Things morph. But yeah, no, Cardi is, and now he's doing just amazing work. Cardi is what a career he's built. Yeah,
you should ask him.
We will.
No, you should ask him.
Cardinal Fischel?
No, you should ask him.
About what?
Okay, so
ask me.
He was so excited when you confirmed this interview.
Okay, yeah.
And he was really excited primarily because he wanted to ask you about your interview with Jason Momoa, who he has like this intense obsession with. So maybe you could just explain to him what that interview was like, what it was like meeting Jason Momoa.
I think we were Jason Momoa's first ever talk show. We had never done a talk show before. Khal Drogo character, remember, he had already been dead, I think, at that point in the show. He was waiting behind the set, and what he was really excited about was that he and I have the exact same ring. So his wedding ring with Lisa Bonet is the exact same company. So he saw an old interview of mine where I had this ring.
Yeah.
And when I went to meet him before the show, he went, "Oh my God, you got the same ring as me." So he was very excited. He had never been on a show. And our show at that time had a thing called a bio. Remember, where you'd play like, here's the career. And so he's watching his bio, and I could see him just like smile. And he said, "This is my first talk show." And I said, "Well, we're going to have fun." So he came out. And then I see Jason every now and then in the neighborhood. And the last time we hung out was at Slayer's last concert in LA. And Jason's so nice.
Yeah.
He is so nice. And he's got the life that any renegade wants.
Well, for sure.
Jason's life is like the renegade dream.
Yeah. I've seen him in like, I don't know, like Hawaiian skirts.
Yeah,
like,
whatever he wants.
Yeah, like,
does whatever. He's Aquaman. He
Yeah.
does whatever he wants, man.
Facts.
Yeah, he does whatever he wants.
Yeah.
He's a really good dude.
Do you have a favorite interview? Because you've interviewed like
Ooh, that's a great question.
icons like Tony Bennett, Britney Spears, Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah, I've been so lucky.
Yeah.
Michael J. Fox, man.
Michael J.
Fox is like superstar, but also philosopher. He struggles hard, but he overcomes. Michael J. Fox is funny and edgy, but also really pleasant. And he's raised over $2 billion for his Parkinson's Foundation, and they have had major breakthroughs, like legendary breakthroughs. And a lot of that money that was donated to him wasn't just earmarked for charity. That if it didn't go to Michael J. Fox, it would have gone to somebody else. It went because it's Mike.
Yeah.
And because of his group, his team is so great. So Mike, I love as a celebrity to talk to because he's not a celebrity. He's just like, he just transcends.
Yeah.
He transcends.
Are you an American citizen?
No. I'm and I don't want to be. I'm a Toronto boy. I live in LA and I live in New York and I live in Toronto. I go where I got to go to work.
Yeah, for sure.
But I'm a Toronto boy, and I still run on visas to work down there. I have for the longest time. I'll get a green card eventually, but I don't want to be a U.S. citizen.
Loyal.
Yeah,
I love it.
I'd rather become a citizen. My mom was born in Poland. I want to get a Polish citizenship so I could have an EU passport.
Oh yeah,
right. I'll go work in Europe. I think that'd be dope, right? Yeah. If the Brexit shit didn't happen, but no, I'm not American citizen. I'm a Toronto boy, and people, I'm in Toronto more now than I have been. But during the pandemic, I was locked down there, so I spent a lot of time down there. But Toronto was always going to be home, always.
You know, like other media personalities in LA, like Joe Rogan. hated LA during the lockdown. Were you? Did you ever felt like it was suffocating you at all at any time?
I remember walking out of a 7-Eleven on Sunset Boulevard, right, one day. I walked out, and there was another Canadian guy I knew, a really funny comedian called Jason Rouse. Mm-hmm. This is dusk. It's dusk. He's like Satan's stand-up comic. Like, that's his bit. He is edgy as... I love him. And I've known him a long time.
What's his name?
Jason Rouse.
I got to look him up.
Gnarly. Mm-hmm. Like, I saw him open for Chauclair one night, and I've never seen a guy intentionally lose a room the way Jason did, right?
I love it.
He went...
Sounds like my type of comedian.
Oh, dude, he went for it. He is Satan's comic, for sure. I love him. So I walk into the 7-Eleven. It's like 5:36. It's the winter time, so it's dark early. And he just looks at me and he says, "What are you doing out here right now on this, like right in this parking lot?" He said, "Your life expectancy just went down 70% standing here." He said, "I'm moving." I'm like, "I'm not." I love it, man. I love it. This is the part of the toxic part of my brain. I think when people ran from LA, it's because they're soft. That's what I think, right? Because I'm like, what? You're not supposed to leave a city when it's tough. You're supposed to make the city better.
Yeah,
you're supposed to do your part. Now, of course, people have families. I understand, because LA did get pretty sketchy for a minute, man. LA got really, really gnarly. There's like, I have no fear, and there's neighborhoods now. My neighborhood, I don't walk around at night all the time in my neighborhood. It's a different experience than it used to be, for sure. For sure. And it is because you have a lot of people who've been thrown overboard by the system, but you also have a lot of people who are just really mentally experiencing great crisis. There's no infrastructure for them. You have to walk down. You'll be walking on Hollywood Boulevard where the stars are, like, the glitz and glamour of Hollywood, and you have to step off the sidewalk because the tents have taken over the sidewalk to go on the street. You think they want to be there? They don't want to be there. The system's throwing them overboard. So yeah, LA is definitely fucked. But we talk about this all the time. This is what the future of cities is going to be. I come back to Toronto.
It's almost the same thing.
Yeah, man. It's getting really, really intense here.
Yeah, it's getting gnarly here.
And what ends up happening is that because most citizens have no power, so most citizens are going to react against the easiest thing to react. They'll talk about crime. They'll talk about homelessness. They'll talk about all this stuff because they want us to focus on these things, so we're not really paying attention to why this is happening. Why is this happening? Why? How come so much money is going over here and how come no money is going here and not enough? So yeah, LA is gnarly, dude. And I've seen Joe there a lot. I've seen Joe. He'll just show up and do bits. And Joe's a really nice guy. He's a really nice guy. But I remember seeing him just like, get the fuck out of here. Also, Joe Rogan's rich. Yeah. So if you're rich, you don't want to pay. A lot of guys don't want to pay taxes. Of course, you want to go to Texas. There's no state tax. That's why a lot of guys go to Nevada, no state tax. So they'll complain about it.
Yeah.
But really what they just don't want to do is do their part to fix it.
It's crazy.
It's crazy, right? Like this is, I guess I grew up in these ethnic neighborhoods where it was your job, where if I got out of hand on a street, somebody else's parent would take me to task. My mom never said, "Don't talk to my son that way." No. My mom was like, "Correct him." Correct. If my son's out of hand, correct him. So I believe in it takes a neighborhood, it takes a village. Yeah. I believe that. So I don't have the abandon the thing mentality. But also, I think this is really important to note is that Americans, United Staters, it's not us. It's a different country, man. Like on
every man for himself. It's
a different country. Yeah. They don't have the same, they didn't start the same way. They don't have the same they don't have the same charter that we have. No. It's not who they are. So I have to often remind people, it's a completely different culture. It's not even that like it's different. It's a different culture.
Yeah. Americans scare me.
It's a different culture. Yeah. It's a different culture than we are, right? And we're going down that way, by the way. We're going down that road.
Slowly, yeah.
Yeah. So I try not to be a cultural imperialist by telling them how they should behave because I'm not from there. I'm not an American. I'm a North American, but that is it. And but sometimes I'm like, man, this fucking place is crazy. If you don't have universal health care, if you don't have real universal health care and you go bankrupt because you get sick, your country's destroyed. Yeah. And you got people running in this country who want to kind of alter that. They want to create this 2-tier system. Yeah. And they don't understand because they're just doing it in the interest of their business friends. They don't understand what it does to a culture. And an enormous component of the American psyche is the fact that they are on their own, except they're not really on their own because if you're a big business, the government's all on your side. They got you. So this idea that it's like rugged individualism, it's only true for the individual. It's not true for companies. They give companies breaks all the time. So I would be fine with people's politics if they were at least consistent.
For sure.
Right? They just talk bullshit all the time. And so in the U.S., I'm often reminded that even the people who I fundamentally disagree with, they also don't have any power. They're also, attacked by the same medians and algorithm bullshit. So I'm not that mad at people I disagree with because this guy's just trying to get enough fucking money to feed his kid too. Yeah. Right? So that's how it is.
Are you sure you don't want to run for politics? Mayor? Sure. Nothing?
Well,
counselor?
Because people don't want this.
You'd be great.
Yeah, but people don't want this. People don't really want truth. Well, even people who agree with me on my side of the political argument, they're like, how you say it. And it's just, I'm not fucking interested.
People want their truth or whatever makes them comfortable.
Yeah. I'm not interested in people's truths. I'm interested in the facts. And then your truth is important for you, but it's not policy. Your opinions are not good policy. Right? And compromise is democracy. And I do think democracy is busted. I don't know another system that I would like better, but this is fucked as long as we have crony capitalism. So I don't have a problem with people making money. Go make your money. But it's so slanted against people. And again, growing up, I was raised by a single mother, immigrant mother. I'm the first person in my family born in this country. I watched my mother struggle, but she did it. And part of the reason she got away with stuff is because we got lucky. Part of it is because my mom is just a whole other level of. My mom is.
Does she have an accent?
No. Well, I'll tell you something. If you'll never get her to. I can't even get her to do an interview with me. But there's nobody in this city like my mom. My mom is unbelievable, and she actually called me today before I came here, and she says, "Do not talk about me on that show." She actually said that to me.
Sorry, Mom.
She's like, "Do not talk." So I can't tell you stories because
she
she'll
on
get mad at
social
me.
media. We want to send this clip to her.
She doesn't even have a cell phone. Doesn't have an email. Doesn't have a computer. Doesn't have any internet.
So she won't say nothing.
No, but there's somebody in my family that's going to tell her. So no, I don't want to run for politics because I actually do believe that. I actually don't believe that I never grew up thinking the system was on my side. So I don't believe corporations are on my side. I never believed the police are on my side. I don't believe the government are on my side. I never believed anybody was on our side. But what I do know, and again, this is only based on my experience, is that in my neighborhood, you can fix your block. I know that. So with what we do and what I try to do just with my whatever platform I have is that's why I do the Greenland stuff. And that's why I started a scholarship for music therapists. That's why I used to go back to Rexdale and work with kids just to try to help them learn how to even be interviewed for a job. Is that you can't save the world because have you seen the world? You can't save the world. But what you can do is have a little impact in the way you can. Yeah. And I find that I don't have to make as many compromises if I do it this way than if I did it in politics. Plus, I'm only 51. Why do I want that stress? You ever seen what politicians look like when they retire? I don't give a shit.
Obama.
I don't need. Yeah, man. Obama still looks good, but he 8 years is hard.
Yeah, his hair was white after he was done.
Speaking of politics, we'll get off of that quickly. Are you interested in Pierre Poilievre?
No. I mean, am I interested in it? Well, I'm interested in that he's the leader of the Conservative Party.
Are you interested in what he has to say?
Sure. Yeah, I definitely hear what he has to say. I think his promise to switch our currency to crypto was a bad idea, and he said he would do it.
Is that what he said?
Yeah,
he did it.
Yeah, and I think that to me, I remember when Stephen Harper, and I interviewed Chrétien about this, when Jean Chrétien stood up in the House of Commons and declared that Canada was not going to be sending troops to Iraq. Right? We're not going to join the war in Iraq. Stephen Harper wrote a letter, I believe. I think it was the Wall Street Journal. I might be wrong, but he wrote a letter saying what a bad move this was for us. And I was like, really? Turns out maybe it wasn't a bad move. Right? So to me, I look at most politicians, I'm going to agree with some of what they do.
Yeah.
I'm going to disagree with a lot of what they do.
Yeah.
And they have to keep a lot of people happy. It's a job so I understand that. But on key issues, do you have the kind of judgment to steer us at least into a place where we're no free fall? That war in Iraq would have been a bad decision. Switching us to crypto would have been I don't think he has the power to do that anyway. No. But it's just bullshit. So there's a lot of what's happening in politics today is very performative, and I see through it. Maybe it's because I've interviewed every living prime minister, and I think some who are no longer alive. One who's no longer alive, or close to it.
You sat down with Pierre.
Not Pierre, no, I never. After Pierre, so from Joe Clark, Brian Mulroney, Kim Campbell, John Turner, everybody since then. And I've interviewed a lot of politicians, and I know the game that is played. I know that a lot of them want to do really good work, and they try. But the people, in part because we're sort of slightly brainwashed, and the human brain is so easily suggestible. Mm-hmm. Like we don't really have as much free will as we think we do because listen to shit. We get how many DMs do you get or do you send that you'll send to your friend going, is this true? right?
Yeah.
Right. And now with AI, so we're fighting an awful lot of forces right now just to have a shot at a good democracy. So I only look now at a politician and go, a couple of key issues. To me, it's, are you taking care of, are you getting people out of poverty, and are you taking care of people who are working for a living?
Yeah.
Because that's the backbone of this culture, right? So if you're not a party that does that, and if you're a party that leans on the side of the corporations rather than the people, then I don't really. I'm interested in what you have to say, but I'm not on your side.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not on your side.
How do you feel about Justin Trudeau seemingly on social media being like, seems like he's like public enemy number one?
Yeah, people really attack him, don't
like they go hard.
They go hard.
And
yeah, I think there's a lot of reasons why you can be mad at your prime ministers. I think there's a lot of legitimate reasons to be mad. I think there's a level of discourse in our era that is gnarlier than it's ever been, for sure. But I think that the number one reason why people attack him is because of COVID, right?
Yes.
Go around the world, see how everybody handled it. So what he's experiencing here is actually on par with what almost everybody in his position is handling around the world. Here's an example. Joe Biden. Yeah. If Joe Biden, on the record that he has, was anybody other than Joe Biden, he would win the re-election easily. Like, I've been listening to American commentators talk about how just on the economy and the other things on Joe Biden, he would have a Reagan-like win. Mm-hmm. Right? But people just hate Joe Biden. And there's a lot of money in the anti... Now, I'm not a Joe Biden guy. I'm definitely not a Trump guy. I'm not a part of that political system. So I look at what's happening to Trudeau here and I go, yeah, well, listen, man, every prime minister after 3 terms is going to have this shit all the time. And they don't do everything right. So they're allowed to have the people mad at them. Mm-hmm. But the kind of discourse we have here, a lot of it is American money influence.
Yeah, it's mimicking Americans.
For sure. For sure it is. But this is democracy. It's noisy. And if we don't find a way to get money out of democracy, like money out of our democracy, we are going to go further down that road. Mm-hmm. That's it. It's just corporations who are spending money to elect local politicians to ensure that you don't get a union in your place. Like, there's all this shit that are against us. And what they want is us to be mad at the prime minister. Yeah. The prime minister doesn't have that much power. And most of the people that are mad at the prime minister actually should be mad at their premier because it's jurisdiction. So people don't even understand, like, the lack of civics understanding in our countries.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. It's same in the U.S. Yeah. I watch people online going, Trudeau this, Trudeau this. I'm like, that's not even.
That's how it works.
That's not how it works. It's like, that's a city thing.
Yeah.
That's not. Do you want the PM to come in and tell your city what to do? Because that's a whole different game.
Yeah.
But look,
roads suck.
It's like talk to your counselor, your regional counselor, or your mayor.
Totally. But again, I have a lot of empathy for people because we're fighting against a lot of dark money that is trying to. Listen, I'm not outraged or shocked by any of this because I grew up listening to punk rock and I grew up listening to Public Enemy. So they've been telling us this is happening forever.
Yeah, that's true.
People who are surprised now at the state of the world, I always say to them, you just listen to shit music. And people got mad at me saying this on my show once. I said, like, do you believe the mind and the body are the same thing? Yes. Okay, so if you eat too much sugar, you get diabetes? Yeah. You listen to too much saccharin shit, you get diabetes of the brain, diabetes of the soul. Mm-hmm. So I've been listening to music that's made me not cynical, but a little edgy for a long time, right? So I'm a little battle worn for sure because I'm just listening to people freak out about politics. And I'm like, well, what did you think was going to happen? What did you think was going to happen if we did this and we did that? So that's why my whole thing is if a country doesn't make sure that kids have access to healthy food, kids get good education, but not just like go to school, but actual life education. Yeah. And if people can get out of poverty, that to me, I know means that in successive generations, we have less trauma.
Absolutely.
That's what I want.
I agree with that.
That's what I want. And so I don't have big hopes for politics in that they can't fix everything.
No.
But they can do stuff,
Some things.
Yeah.
Is punk music dead?
No, it's the best, bro. Punk music and metal right now is so good.
Yeah.
Punk and music.
So what do you suggest right now? Like, yeah.
Or who? I listen to some scary shit. You don't want to hear what I listen to.
some new guys?
Hell Ripper, man. I listen to a band called Hell Ripper. Okay. I love that. But it's there's a band out of Soweto, South Africa called TCIYF. They hate the government. They hate religion. They hate all that shit. And they're a bit edgy, but I love them. Punk band. All black kids from Soweto in punk. Not a lot of punk bands out of Soweto.
What's their name?
TCIYF.
I gotta look him up.
There's also a band called Punk Band I really like. There's a band called Bob Villain, who's amazing, an artist.
Bob Villain.
Bob Villain, yeah. And I love a band called Idols and Sleaford Mods, but Bob Villain called out Idols and Sleaford Mods for pretending to be political, but not speaking out about Gaza, right?
Punk
and Israel. So, yeah, so there's a lot of great punk right now.
So it's in a good place right now?
Yeah, man. It's actually, what's happened has been the best thing for rock and roll in the world, because everybody just said, oh, it's dead. And you got a bunch of kids out there who just don't feel like they fit into whatever's popular,
or whatever, yeah,
or pop music, or even countries like pop. And there's a bunch of kids going, no, that's not who I am. And also, how long can you get thrown? Like, how often can you look at your situation and go, I have no chance of getting out of here, and then listen to somebody sing about how great their life is before you say, out of touch, right?
So, totally
out of touch. So this is where punk, and I started talking about this about 7 years ago when I was doing House of Strombo. I noticed a bunch of young bands coming through for interviews, especially young girls like 16, 17, 18 with guitars with kind of dissonant pedals. And I'm like, oh, there's something changing here. There's a bunch of people who's I can't be whoever, I don't know who was big at the time, Katy Perry. I can't be that, or I can't be Drake, or I can't be this, because those stories don't resonate with me. So where is it? And it's been hiding in the shadow. There's so many great bands. There's a band called Single Mothers that's so dope. There's a band called Pop from Toronto who are my favorite. Pop. Yeah, they're like a punk rock band, but they, I think, sneaky the best lyrics in the country. There's so much great music right now happening in punk and guitars for sure.
Good. So who in Toronto? Who would I listen to if I wanted to? If I used to listen to Sum 41,
I'll listen to Pop. Listen to Pop, yeah, listen to Pop. Sum 41, somewhere in my home in Toronto, in my closet, I have a briefcase full of old DV tapes. So when I worked at Much Music, I created this show called The Punk Show. And I remember going to the boss saying, I have this 1 hour every Saturday night. Can I just make a punk show? And they went, yeah. Okay, that's it. And I borrowed a camera from Much Music. I would walk down the street, film bands, go back to my house on this old computer. This is pre-social media, and I didn't even have legal software. I was just trying to edit together a punk show. I'd bring it to Much Music. There was an editor called the Doc, really great editor. He'd put the videos that I selected in. I would then take the tape. I would walk downstairs, hand it to the VTR operator in the basement. He'd press play, and that would go to air. Wow. The punk show was a punk show. Yeah. So Sum 41, they came on our show, The New Music, early, and somewhere in my house I have footage of that when they were brand new, because even before I worked at Much Music, I interviewed them. Yeah. And I got in a lot of trouble because I played their whole record in a row, 30 minutes long. And my boss said, what the hell are you doing? Why are you playing 30 minutes? Just play 2 songs. I went, no, this band's going to be big, man. This is before I got to Much Music. And I loved that band. But the band I would recommend you listen to is Pop.
PUP?
PUP. There's just something really special going on there, man. Something really, if you like that kind of stuff. Yeah, punk with a bit of a pop vibe. I think Pop are the best in the city. Yeah.
Are you familiar with Vlad TV?
Yeah. I watch Vlad TV. I watch Vlad TV, especially with the Keefy D shit. I watched so much Vlad. I remember watching Vlad TV though years ago. Yeah. Before Vlad TV became this guy. Yeah. And now people are mad at him. So I kind of go.
I want to get your perspective on that, because as an interviewer, people say that he asked cop-like questions or Fed-like type questions. And they'll place the blame on him. But in my mind, I'm saying, well, he's allowed to ask those questions.
Yeah.
You who are answering it, you're the problem.
Yeah. Yep. Just know how not to get in trouble.
Yeah. So is there such a thing as like asking a bad question or the wrong question in an interview?
There is, in only one sense. It's you have to, and every interviewer is different. So the way I look at it is that if you're an entertainer who's just doing entertainment, you don't owe me or the audience anything but a great record and a great performance or a great book or whatever. If you're a CEO of a publicly traded company or you're a politician, you owe me an answer. Oh, yeah. So I don't treat a 22-year-old artist the same way I treat a president of the United States when I interview them, right? So I've context. Vlad TV is different though, because YouTube, the whole thing's different on YouTube, right?
Different world.
But I know Vlad TV and I watch it. I watch Vlad TV a lot. I sometimes watch No Jumper, and sometimes I'm just like, I don't want to hear this shit. But I heard Crip Mac went away again, and then everybody's mad at him because he didn't. Tapped in. Yeah, because he didn't go visit Crip Mac and when he was on, right. So I follow that stuff. I'm sort of obsessed with Crip Mac, to be honest with you. Yeah. Because I didn't think it was real for a second.
Yeah, I thought it was fake.
I did too. But I will watch Vlad. But the Keefy D thing, because here's the thing: I was on the air the night Pac got shot. I was on the air at the Fan in Toronto the night Pac got shot. Yeah. This is pre-internet, so we would have a news wire. So there was like a printer in the newsroom that this paper would come out, right? And I got this paper, rapper Tupac Shakur shot in Las Vegas. And I was like, I was, 21 years old, 22. Most guys who worked on my radio station never heard of Tupac, but I listened to so much Tupac that my co-hosts, a guy called Bob Mackwitz and Jeff Merrick, used to call me One Pac. Because I wasn't gangster like Tupac, but I was really into Tupac. And so I went on, guys, Tupac just got shot. But then the next report we got was Tupac was going to be okay, right? And then almost immediately, everybody knew it was Orlando and it was Keefe D.
Yeah.
We knew that from the beginning. We didn't know who paid him, and I wonder if that shit's going to come out now.
Ooh,
we all do now.
We know, but I wonder if like that's because Keefe's like Suge's not going to testify, right?
No,
Keefe's not going to call him out. Apparently, should have paid that money. Right, and I think is Keefe sick? Is that the truth? I heard Keefe was sick.
I think he's in jail. I'm not sure if he's sick.
I think everybody gets sick once a year.
Yeah,
facing prison time.
Yeah, and I think that part of this is Keefe just talking. So I'm really into this whole story. Right,
Yeah.
I'm really into this whole story, man.
Yeah.
So Suge Knight drove by me once in L.A. and I remember just going, "Fuck, it's Suge Knight."
Was he in all red?
He was in a white car, not a red car. Tanya, who's here, by the way, you know that there's a very famous Much Music moment with Tupac and Suge Knight. Tanya's the one that made that interview happen. She saw him at a party and made Master T go up and do that interview. Everybody's afraid of Suge Knight, and everybody's afraid of Suge and Pac at the time. They were more afraid of Suge. And Tanya, my producer who's here right now, is the reason. And then mysteriously that tape went missing, right? Is that what happened? That tape went missing. Yeah.
Wow.
So that one of the last things of Pac ever, you know. Damn. Yeah, she made that happen.
Who's on your top 5 right now in Toronto?
Top 5?
Rappers.
Claremont, Raz Fresco. I'm going to count Brampton.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can do it.
I like that.
Toronto, I mean like the greater
Havaya.
area. Okay.
Because I like bars.
Yep.
And also my really controversial opinion, which people don't like when I say this, is I fucking hate auto-tune on verses.
Yeah.
I hate auto. I get why it's real. I'm not saying it's bad. It just doesn't work for me.
So you weren't a Lil Wayne fan?
You know, I was okay with Lil Wayne because it wasn't crazy. It was T.I. that made it crazy, wasn't it? No, it was T-Pain. T-Pain made it crazy, right?
T-Pain made it nuts.
And then T-Pain just made everybody just realize what a great singer he is on the last record.
Yep. So we're at number 3.
What?
We're number 3.
And
Top
Toronto.
5,
Simba's
Claremont, Raz Fresco.
Yeah, Havaya.
Havaya.
I like, who else do I like? Sometimes I like Killy. I like some Killy stuff.
Okay.
I like some Killy stuff. I'm also like, it's not a great era for me only because the other shit that I'm not that into is emo. Right, and Juice WRLD made that emo thing real, and I know why it's important. So it's not been, but those are my I guess.
One more.
Well, the whole sorority, all 3 of them, I think can spit.
Yeah,
right? I like bars.
Yeah, it's a throwback.
Yeah,
they're great.
Yeah,
they're
and Lex is killing it on TikTok, and I think people slept on her verses. You know, I like that. But my Raz, for whatever reason, Raz Fresco is like
crazy.
When he goes, I'm just like, that guy's got bars, man.
You should listen to Ason Eastwood as well.
Yeah?
Ason Eastwood. If you're into that, if you're into Raz Fresco, Ason is really in that.
He's got that kind of, right.
Yeah.
And Sad Boy.
Boy?
She's dope. She's dope. Yeah.
I'm down with that. And also, the third, I'm blanking. I love her. She's in sorority as well. Keisha
yeah.
Fresh.
Yep.
Keisha
So,
Fresh.
yeah. So,
She's a spitter.
Yeah, that's what I want. I want bars, right? And that's the old guy talking. I just want bars. That's why I like Simba, right? When I listen to new kids come putting out records in around the world, it's like I want bars.
Yeah.
I remember doing the first interview with Dizzy Rascal in Canada, right? And that was at Much Music at the time. He was talking about Nirvana and how much he was getting into grunge, right?
Yeah.
In the way that Dre loves Kurt Cobain. Loves Kurt Cobain. So I like bars and I like a bit of personality. And so I want something to stand out. I think that's why I like the sorority because they all sound different from each other. But Raz is just he's a wild card, right? Raz is a wild card,
and he works really hard.
Yeah, totally. I'll pop on his his lives from time to time when he does it. The other thing too is, and some guys told me once that they said, don't name the rappers you like in Toronto because it's unsafe when they get attention. That's what I was told. They'd be careful who you name. So there's some other cats that I'm not going to name.
Crazy that culture that we're in right now.
Yeah, but Claremont I love too. Like that's the thing. Claremont, but again, that goes back to that west side part of Toronto. There's a rhythm that Claremont II has, and his brother Cola is in a great punk band called the OBGMs. Who's another great band in Toronto you should listen to. The OBGMs, and Cola, who's Claremont's brother, is in that. But so they got bars. So those are the guys I listen to.
Do you have a dream interview?
At this point,
I mean, your catalog is so deep.
I mean, like the old school guys like Neil Young and Bob Dylan. I would love to interview them. But I once, overheard. This is what I'd like to do. This, and it's not just because we were talking about hip hop, but when I went to Russell Peters' wedding, right, just a couple of years ago, afterwards we were all just hanging around by the tables outside, and it was Melly Mel, Grandmaster Melly Mel. It was Crazy Legs.
Oh wow!
It was
Steady.
Big Daddy Kane.
Oh wow!
And there were Raekwon.
Wow!
And everybody was just talking about who they liked and who they didn't like in hip hop.
Oh man!
And I was watching this whole conversation go down. And Ooh was there. Ooh was like a legendary, you know, blue bandana in L.A. I think he's bumped and hearing that conversation that close, man. Holy shit. Yeah. And Ray Parker Jr., who wrote the Ghostbusters song, was there. And these guys were just talking about bars and breaking down what they liked and what they didn't like. And I just thought, this would never happen if there were cameras. Because even Drink Champs doesn't do it this way. No. And neither does LeBron's Barbershop Show, The Shop. They don't do it this way. But The Shop's actually better at it. Just the level of detail. I was just like, man, I wish I could do that.
Yeah.
I wish I could have these 5. And I think because people in this era don't really appreciate just how great Big Daddy Kane was. How great.
No, he's great.
Great. And then you hear Raekwon, and I'm like, Wu-Tang is like my culture. It's my identity. It's Wu-Tang Clan, right? Not my culture. My identity was all about Wu-Tang when they came out. So that would be I'd like to do that kind of roundtable, for sure.
That'd be dope.
I want to interview the Pope, man. But I think this Pope's not doing very well. I want to interview the Pope. I got
like health-wise?
Yeah.
Health-wise not doing well.
That's what I hear, but I don't know if that's true. I'd like to interview. I want to do that now. I want to go get out. I want to go talk to people who are shifting the temperature of the room. Chuck D said that about KRS-One, that nobody could change the temperature of the room like KRS-One, right? And I want to interview people who change the temperature of the room now.
I like that.
You know, and so I think that the Pope would be dope. I've interviewed all the prime ministers. I've interviewed presidents. That doesn't really...
Been there, done that.
Yeah.
Got it.
You had Obama?
I never had Obama. Never. Close once. Like close. Paul McCartney from the Beatles, really close. And then he was actually agreed to do it. And then that morning or the morning before, he had a big scandal with his then wife, and that canceled all his press.
That's terrible.
Yeah, I was like, oh my God, we're so close to that. Close to Obama. And I pitched somebody not that long ago about another version of doing something with Obama. Because I have some questions. I want to talk about the drones, and I want to talk about other shit too, that he doesn't ever have to answer. But I think I can do it in a way. Because there's Anthony Jeselnik talks about this, the comedian, but it's a Warhol quote that was attributed, that art is getting away with it, right? Anybody can say anything to offend anybody. That's too fucking easy. If you want to ask difficult things, but that's what I learned early in my Much Music career, because I got thrown out of an Eminem Dr. Dre interview. You got to do it. I got thrown out of an Eminem Dr. Dre press conference a week after I got thrown out of an interview in New York with a rock and roller. And I realized that, and people liked that I got thrown out because it built notoriety. But then I thought, but the interview's over. That's not interesting to me. So the real art is ask the same kinds of questions, but in a way that keeps the thing going. So I want to, because anybody, and that's my problem with most of what I watch in the YouTube podcast game. Yeah. Everybody's just trying to get hype for some fucking inappropriate question that makes somebody who's unprepared look stupid. And it's just like, again, we're all just attacking down. I don't want to be a part of that shit. Yeah. I want to build up, and I want to go after the real villains. And so getting those kind of people in the room, that's what I want to do now. And I don't think Mr. Obama's a villain by any means, but I do think that as a president, he has some stuff to answer for, and he should be able to answer for them. So I want to talk to guys like that. Yeah.
Cool. Do you enjoy watching interviews where like the interviewer is giving like considerable pushback?
Yeah.
And,
totally.
You know, not the softball type of.
Totally. Because look, I've thrown so many softballs in my career, and I've thrown some hard balls, and I've thrown some heaters, some like sliders. I've thrown some gnarly pitches, but I've also thrown lots of softballs. And what I like watching is an interviewer throw a bunch of softballs, but then I'll be watching, and 3 questions in, I'll be like, oh God, that's the setup. That's 2 questions from now is when the punch is going to come. And so I like watching.
It's an art.
Yeah, for sure. It's kind of why when I watch Vlad TV, I really like it, because it's like without emotion, any questions are asked, and you know he's going to ask something that is so over the line, but he's going to do it like he's reading, and he's off camera. He's just over here. Like the No Jumper guy's on camera. What's his name? Andrew or something? I don't even know. Adam. So he's like on camera, and he's leaning back, and then there's that whole weird shit with his wife, and I'm like, I don't want to hear this. Like, I just want to interview somebody. But with Vlad, I'm just like, fuck. I can't believe he asked that question.
I love him. I think he's great.
I used to feel that way about I still watch a lot of Breakfast Club back in the day.
Charlemagne.
Yeah, well, Charlemagne came to my house and did an interview at my show like a couple years ago.
Yep.
And that became too much the brand. But when Charlemagne and Beanie had the beef, it was
hilarious.
It's one of the best things I've ever seen in my life. I've made TV and radio for 30 years. I remember watching Charlemagne and Beanie going, that's the best thing I've ever seen. That's unbelievable. And when Soulja Boy came on.
Oh, yeah.
That was crazy.
I became obsessed with Soulja Boy.
That's why I love Charlemagne, because he tells people straight to their face how he feels. It's a thin line. You could get yourself in some serious trouble, but he's willing to do it.
And well, look, when I challenged Charlemagne on some of his stuff, he dodged. Right.
Oh,
so
really?
I'm okay if you're going to do shit, but just let's talk about it. I like Charlemagne. I don't have a beef with him.
Did you bring up the allegation? Not the allegations.
No. This is before that.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't hear any of those. No. This is just more about the way he talked about women.
Oh, yes.
Right. And he's like, that's only a couple of clips. I'm like, well, because I don't like that. Again, I think that's like punching down. And I think that the real enemy is above us. It's not below us. And I just didn't like some of that stuff. But Charlemagne's really entertaining. I thought Angela Yee sneaky asked the hardest questions.
Oh, yeah.
Sneaky.
She always does.
Yeah. And I like watching Ebro's interviews because Ebro throws punches, man.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Old man Ebro doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
And I love the way he does that.
Do you think there's Toronto was ripe for like a scene for that kind of thing? Like there's multiple personalities?
If you can do it in a way that holds the scene accountable but doesn't destroy the scene, right? And I think there's a really fine line between you have to hold the scene accountable, but if everybody's just trying to get over on everybody else, that's not how you build a scene. Yeah. You build a scene and you work a scene when everybody's working together. You can hold each other accountable and be tough on each other, and media should not work on behalf of artists. It's not that. It's they owe your audience as much as you owe your audience. Yeah. I think you can do it. It's part of the reason why I did the House of Strombo thing. It's part of the reason why I'm doing my own live stream stuff, is because I just looked and went, yeah, it is ripe for it right now. And I think that there are a lot of great opportunities in this country. Also, like, YouTube has a ton of money out there. You can make a ton of money if you're doing this right. Yeah. But what are you about? Are you about tearing shit down and making yourself famous, or are you about building something? And by building, you have to do it in a lot of different ways, sometimes pleasant, sometimes uncomfortable. But what's your end game? My end game is to make sure that, like, when we're long gone, all of us, here's what I'll say. The most legendary people in Toronto are the people that the construction workers who paved the sidewalks on Queen Street. Right. How many times have we walked those sidewalks? Yeah. We don't know who they are, but their legacy is real.
For sure.
Right. Their names aren't in any buildings.
For sure.
That's real legacy. So to me, I think all of us who are part of this moment in time in our city, in our era, it's our responsibility to be those cats who paved that sidewalk. Maybe one guy will say, oh, my dad did that. But over time, it won't matter. It's, did you make this a better place, a more honest place, a more interesting place, or did you just try to get your own shit out of it? And you can do whatever you want, but I'm not that guy. I don't want to get my own shit out of it. Because if you do it the right way, you're going to win anyway. You're going to win anyway.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I want to thank you so much for coming out.
No, hope that was okay, man. Thanks for having me.
No, this is great. It was great. We killed it. I don't want to keep you too long. No, whenever you're back here, we'll go longer or what have you.
I'll do it again. I'd love to.
Thank you so much.
Doors are always open.
I appreciate you guys having me.
Oh, man. People don't know how humble he is, and it's a good look. This is Steady Mobbin episode
5. I don't remember.
Blah blah blah. Well,
how many have you done? How many episodes?
So we're at. Well, personally, I did 500 episodes during the
come on.
Yeah, during the COVID lockdown.
I bet you it saved your life, man.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
It was like 30-minute conversations with people all around, like in the industry in Toronto. I'd
love it.
Have 30-minute conversations, and then I took them down off of YouTube and Spotify because the quality wasn't that great.
Yeah.
But with this gentleman here and my colleague Stewie,
He's wearing the dopest shirt right now, by the way.
Golden Girls. Where this is episode 54, I believe.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so great. Now you take all that previous stuff you did, use AI to up-res the quality of it, fill in all the blanks. Now you have another 500 episodes.
That's it. That's what we plan on doing. And that's when somebody like Apple wants to give us a check or something.
Yeah.
Anywho, this is Black Mob. This is Glory. And this is George Stroumboulopoulos.
West Side, mother.
We out, motherfuckers.